All right, so we're gonna go over the assignment. This is assignment three. Sorry, the assignment one, 3D assignment. Yeah, okay. So this is the first assignment we're gonna do in this course. So basically, on submission time, you kind of like the idea is that you fill this in. Obviously, providing a name. Submission should be next Friday. Due 5 p.m. So after class, if you still have questions, we can talk about it in class. That would be good. Otherwise, you're expected to fill in a link to your slideshow, link to your diary if you want to claim the A plus kind of things, and or even for any of the other tasks. The diary is always a useful thing to provide, and a contribution statement. So I suspect that you will use different kinds of resources, help in the future, maybe more Gen AI support. So what we do is we declare. That explains it in the handbook. We declare the use. It's allowed, but we need to be honest about it, transparent, and so that's all cool. And then yeah, other references, like for example, you could list 3D models that you've used. Okay, so this week is our first part of the 3D assignment. The 3D assignment is, as I explained briefly in class, is really the idea of creating a 3D scene with Unity. The scene you will create should be based on something existing, a film set, simulation, book, a physical room, like for example your own bedroom if you wanted to, an outdoor location, whatever you find interesting, and really anything that motivates you and challenges you, and so that you put in some work and you also get something out of it. Like you actually feel proud of the thing. I did my little Earth Rise scene, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I spent like 5 hours on it, as I said, primarily because I was just you know really trying to perfect it in some sense, and it is not actually perfect anyway. So the goal here is okay. So 3D modeling is not really a goal. I think I had a stronger statement about this in the past. If you really want to look into 3D modeling, maybe do it this week. There's a lot you can do with Unity itself. In fact, there is some kind of like Unity extension or plugin, or forgot what it's called, where you essentially can build entire little worlds very quickly out of primitives. I should look this up one more time. But other than that, I think people are often curious about 3D modeling tools like Blender. Um, anyway, the idea is really to start planning a scene with primitives and then potentially, replacing some of them with 3D models. And I've shown that in my online videos I've created for you with little dinosaurs. I found this dinosaur collection and I really felt like having dinosaurs in my scene. Um, and so I did that. Some notes on the diary. So I also added examples of what a good diary looks like. So it should look like, I mean, this is a pretty detailed one from a former student, actually now my current PhD student. Uh, and yeah, so and then the assignment is structured into A minus tasks. So first you choose the example. Obviously you should somehow provide that example to us. So in your slideshow I would expect that I see a photo, a sketch if you didn't really have an image, something that makes the goal clear. So you submit this and you provide a rationale for picking the reference and maybe pointing to some learning goals or like why you think this is cool or interesting. Be sure to identify the main aspects that you plan to focus on when working on the task. So it could be that there's quite a bit of detail. Like, let's say you take a film scene, there's probably a lot of stuff in the background and maybe only a few key items in the foreground, and you probably want to focus on the foreground elements or those central to the story. We do a little bit more on storytelling and also context and story and what matters, and also the composition of 3D scenes or specifically later virtual reality scenes of foreground, midground, background. And so, yeah, I'll expand a little bit on that. But then you go ahead and you start modeling your, putting together your 3D scene with the main actors. These can be represented as 3D geometric primitives. So like spheres, boxes, or cubes in Unity. Focus on getting the spatial layout right, maybe using some material for color coding. No need to pay attention to light, shadow, material, I say here, but it can help. And then add a text label with your name to the scene. We always do this with a name tag so that becomes a little bit more authentic and it's clear that you actually did the work. Task 3 is increase the fidelity using 3D models. Create a second version of your scene. You could duplicate task 2 scene and work based on that copy to still have the original. And you should always keep the original, right? So I don't just submit the final version. You need to claim each task and you need to demonstrate the results of each task. And so I would expect in the slideshow to have a separate slide for task 2, task 3, and 1 and 4, of course, as well. And then here we just start replacing some, not all, of the lower fidelity representations through 3D primitives with now 3D models. And so this is a little bit like going through the asset store, trying to import some of the 3D models. If you work with Unity Asset Store, it should be straightforward. If you go to any of the other platforms mentioned above, like Sketchfab or Warehouse, or even if you play with Mixamo and try to get animations exported and imported, yeah, you will probably need to fiddle a little bit with this. This is where your diary will be important. And then maybe you actually get it to work. And you have learned something yourself, which is cool because I didn't really show every small step in class. And that's fine because, again, I don't teach Unity. I just teach you how to create AR/VR experiences. And yeah, Unity is like learning about Unity is like a byproduct of our exploration. Finally, task 4. Now we are like entering, okay, I think I should be able to reach A with what I've done so far. Maybe I'll do a little more because this sounds interesting to me, some self-exploration here. A+ tasks are often pushing you a little bit. Yeah, pushing you a little bit so that you can explore new things, sometimes learn some things on your own, because I do think this is what an AR/VR developer or a designer actually has to do. They have to learn things on top of what they already know all the time. So it's always some new things. So you have to get better at teaching yourself something. So that's why we have task 4. And task 4 is create a third version of your 3D scene. You could make a copy or directly add to task 3. I would never directly add to task 3. So I would say don't do that, but okay, whatever. I wrote it here. I'll just leave it for now. Actually, I'll change it. You should make a copy. To still keep your original task 3 version. Okay. And you want to add one significant feature. So you can actually just duplicate the scene. It's very easy. You press the scene in Unity, you duplicate it, Control D on Windows, for example. And then it'll add a 2 behind it, and you can rename it into, so it would be into task 4, I guess you would rename it. But don't just do more of the same. So I don't want to have like, okay, so task 3 we had 3 3D models, and then task 4 we have another 3D model. Yeah, I don't want this, unless maybe it's one that you created yourself. If you really spent the time using some kind of like Blender or something, using your phone to scan an object, bring it into Unity, maybe here easy polycam. Forgot how they write it. Just like this looks better right now. And GenAI or like Blender. Using your phone to scan. Okay, so these are all fine, but I feel like, I don't know. Really, I don't want to learn too much about 3D modeling and 3D asset creation, and more like about making them interactive, making them work, making them play sound, making them look interesting. Animating them, etc. So settings, materials, lighting, shadows, adding animated, rigged 3D models, or using animation timelines is something. Yeah, you could move them around in the scene. Like my dinosaurs, for example, they didn't actually move. I could have added an animation timeline and actually show that a little bit also next week in class. But like, I mean, actually this week on Friday in class, but whatever. Adding physics is cool. Unity terrain, I've had in the lab, but we didn't really get it to do it. But I added a solution to it, and the instructions should be clear from the lab. Or well, the instructions are there. Let's say. So yeah, anyway, so this is going beyond what you wanted to do. If you feel like, hey, I've spent enough time on this assignment, I don't need an A+, then just don't go for the A+. That's also cool. But it's important to know that if you meet the expectation, doesn't mean you get an A+. Meeting expectations never is an A+. Exceeding expectations, that we can start to talk about an A+. That's how I think about these things. Anyway, I have examples. Hellenstein, I really like. Mandalorian, I watched Mandalorian a lot. Keep in mind that at the time, this is the reference image, they were doing it in different tools, like this is A-Frame, And then this is Unity. The tasks were also labeled a little bit differently, I think. So, and then Helen also included her diary. So could be a cool example to look at, but I included many. Anwas is here too, so she's done some cool work. Take a look at it. Ask on Piazza, Unity Learn. We actually don't have the refer to the lecture 2 recordings, but I would say refer to the SI659 YouTube playlist with example videos of first steps in Unity. So, and I'm gonna link this here, and I just actually created this and posted this. Yeah, I hope this is gonna be an interesting assignment. Upload it in time, please. We may actually want to look at some of that already in class on Friday. I'm gonna check how well we're doing. I think some of you started to upload and already create some folders. So we have 3 of you. That's cool. We probably have more soon. And yeah, it is due really after class at 5 p.m. Let's do this Friday, part 1. So happy hacking, and I hope this is a useful first assignment for you.